So today we are talking about two very important elements of manifestation. And to some of you, you have kind of overcomplicated these elements to the point that you think these two things like cancel each other out or something. And these two things I'm talking about are, of course, persistence and detachment. How do you do both at the same time and manifest what you want? So I'm going to clear all this up for you today, hopefully give you a lot of information that helps you to feel better about this. But before we get deeper into it, I will introduce myself. My name is Genevieve. I'm a manifestation coach. For those of you who are maybe new here, you're just clicking on this video for the first time, you've never seen me before. I offer all kinds of different ways to work with me, to get better at manifesting, to get really good coaching. All of the links for that is down in the description below. You can do courses, you can do a one-on-one, you can join the membership portion of this channel where I post more in-depth tools and meditations and things. So there's lots of levels and options for you to work with me if you find that this style of coaching that I offer you here is really helpful for you. So all of that is down below. Let's get into this important topic of how do you really persist and detach at the same time in order to manifest. So I'm going to start by covering what persistence really is, because I think that is the piece of this that people are confusing the most. Like, a lot of people kind of get detachment, like they kind of get that, although I will cover that too to make sure that even that is not being misunderstood. But the persistence thing is what a lot of people misunderstand. And here's what I mean. A lot of people think that persisting in your manifestation means that you're like working on it every day, that you're like doing something to get it every day. And persistence does not equate effort. That's the thing. A lot of people are equating persisting with efforting. And when you are trying to manifest in that way, where you're kind of efforting through different techniques and tactics, and every day you're putting in the work and you're into your routine, and you think that that is persisting, you're gonna burn yourself out. You're definitely not going to be detached, and you're probably maybe not going to see super sustainable results. So persistence does not equate effort, and I really want you to get that, because again, a lot of people are misunderstanding that. All persistence is you not going back to your old story, or not questioning your new story. You're not negating your new story in any way. That's all persistence means. And this is why, to give an example, and you've probably maybe experienced this, where you maybe a month ago, you were just going along and you thought, you know what, I would really love to talk to my best friend from high school that I haven't talked to in forever. It would be so nice to reconnect with her. Oh my gosh. And you're thinking that, and you thought of that a month ago or less. It doesn't matter. Some amount of time ago, you thought that. But did you persist in every day being my best friend's reaching out to me, she's contacting me every day, she's in my aura now and we're talking all the time? No, you just thought it once, you enjoyed the connection of it, the desire of it, and then 2 weeks, a month later, boom, all of a sudden she reaches out to you, or she's, you're back in contact. All of a sudden, it just happens. So technically, you persisted in that knowingness, that desire for connection, that you had no, this is also what also confused. This is kind of a side note, but this is important. Sometimes people get why is it that I can just think about something, I can just think once, oh, I'd like that, that would be kind of nice. And then it shows up, and then the things that I really want, they don't show up at all. Well, the thing that you just casually thought of in terms of oh, it'd be so nice if I heard from my friend again, you were so non-resistant to that, at least in this example that I'm giving. You were so detached. You were so detached, and then it was it'd be so nice to talk to her again, and just feeling her energy as I think of her, it'd be so nice to connect with her again, and I can just feel that connection in this moment, and it feels nice. And at the same time, you're not oh my gosh, give it to me now. I've got to have it right now. You are so non-resistant. You are so detached. And that's why it easily comes to you, because you just kind of put it in your state of being. You just put that desire in your state of being that's yeah, I love that friend. And even though I haven't talked to her in so long, it'd be so nice to reconnect with her. And then you just, boop, you didn't ever think of it again. You never took back the story. You were not resistant to the story. You just thought it once, and then you naturally persisted in it because you never took back that story. You didn't spend days and days after being like, well, she'll probably never talk to me again, or like that would never happen. And it wasn't like, and even if you did have kind of like thoughts like that, they weren't in that like identity shaking way that often does happen for people who are manifesting, romantic SPs, where your opposing thoughts tend to be very, identity shaking in some ways. So that was kind of a long example, but I know that this makes sense to you, where truly persistence, all it means is that you picked your new story, you picked your new way of thinking about things, your new way of perceiving your reality, and you never went back on that. You were like, yep, this is how it is. I'm not resistant to it. That's just how it is. I can just go on with my life, live in the moment. Things are good. That is persisting, because you never decided that you can't have that, or that it's not working out for you, or that that person actually hates you, or that this is never going to work. You didn't do that. That is real persistence, that you did not ever negate the new story, the thing that you're claiming. You never negated your havingness of it. That is all persistence is. But here's the thing. A lot of you aren't able to do that with things that are very important to you. Like if you're manifesting a specific person, or a really important school grade, or something to do with your work, or, things that are really important to you, it is difficult, quote unquote. I don't mean to say that as a limiting belief, but it's more just like an observation of humans and what we are like. It does tend to be more difficult to just think your new story once and then just go about it and never think of it again and just live your life, because that thing that's so important to you, it's like more naturally on your conscious mind. Your conscious mind is, for often a lot of people, still reacting to the old story and still thinking like there's a problem to solve there. And so with that kind of a situation, part of your practice of persistence does look like you are having a daily manifesting routine, a daily practice, but it is not the practice itself that is the persistence. And that's what I hope you're getting. It is not just like sticking to your routine that proves that you're persistent. Because I also know a lot of people, a lot of clients, who they think it's the routine itself that causes the manifestation, and it's not. You are simply engaging in your routine, and that means, you're practicing every day, you're affirming every day, or you're meditating every day, because you are impressing your own subconscious deeper. It's you are practicing every day, not because if you just do it enough times, if you effort enough, it'll just force the 3D to change. It is you are doing your routine for you. It is to change you, because you are saying, okay, I have a lot of resistance to this thing, so I need to simply have a practice, persist in my practice, so that I change. But a lot of people, I think they're seeing their routine as it's like almost like for the 3D, as opposed to for you. Like if you just say the affirmation enough times, the 3D just magically changes. And that's not really what's happening. And that's why for a lot of you, you've been doing this for a long time and you're still not seeing changes, even though you think you're persisting. And also another thing that could be affecting you is that you're doing the routine or some version of routine, but then like 70 to 80% of the rest of your day, you are not really keeping a mental diet. You're having a lot of opposing thoughts that you're taking very seriously. And so those two things are canceling each other out. So that's also not persisting. If like you're, affirming for 10 to 20% of the day, and then the rest of the day, you're still in a lot of anxiety, you're obviously not shifted yet. So if you're not shifted yet, like why would your reality be shifted yet? So that's another thing, is people are like, why haven't I seen results? I've been doing this for 2 weeks or whatever. And it's like, because you are not actually believing what you're telling yourself yet. So you're going to keep doing your practice to hopefully help you, but it is not the practice itself that is the magic. It is you simply really taking in your new thoughts, your new beliefs, your new assumptions. You're really taking those in as they are true. Right now, they are your legitimate thoughts about reality. Right now, they are not something you're like trying to force the 3D to prove it to you. You're not doing any of that. So anyway, I know that this makes sense. There's a little bit of nuance, obviously, to persisting, but I hope this is making sense in terms of the simplicity of what persisting really means, is that you're choosing the new story, and you are not going back on it. It's just, that's as simple as that. It's like you just decided it and you do not think against it. That's all it is. So if you really are at that point where you're like, yep, I know that I really believe in my new thoughts. I really believe in my new assumptions, my new story. Technically, you might not have to keep doing your routine on that specific topic or that specific manifestation. Although I say that with like an asterisk, because a lot of you might think, oh, okay, yeah, I got it, and you have not. So this is where I also encourage people to do things like coaching, because often a coach can see things in you that you cannot see. So that's just another, like a little a caveat there. So, but if you really are in that like Sabbath stage, is what the Neville Goddard text would call it, where you really do believe it. You're like, yep, I don't even need to think about this anymore. I don't even need to do my routine anymore. Technically, yeah, you do not have to keep efforting with affirmations. You can just trust, yep, that's true. I'm just going to keep living my life. And that's persisting. As long as you just live without going back on what you decided, you are still persisting. So cleared that up. So now let's get on to the detachment piece, because this is why, again, as I said in the beginning of this video, these two things for some people feel like they're like contradicting each other, because some people say that, oh, the more that I persist in my new story, the more attached I get to it, the more focused I get on it, the more I don't feel detached, I feel even more attached. I feel like I'm looking for it more because I'm thinking about it more and all of that stuff. And so that can happen. I get that. That is definitely because you're thinking about something so much, it makes sense that it's kind of on your mind more. And then therefore you're thinking you're more attached just because you're thinking about your new story more. So, but let's not make that assumption, because that really is simply an assumption. Just because you're thinking more about your new story in a very consciously chosen way, you don't need to tell yourself, oh no, this means I'm too attached or whatever. Like, it's you making that assumption that is kind of all the problem. Like, it's not really a problem to be thinking more about your new story. Because like the thing is, like, a lot of you are so actually in your old story still so much that it like pains you to think of the new story. And that's not good. That means you're definitely not in the wish fulfilled. But a lot of the ways that you guys are reacting to that is being like, well, then I'm just not going to think of the new story. I'm just going to like not think about this at all. I'm just going to like just let it go. I'm just going to let it go to God or whatever and just like hope it works out. And that just typically does not work out. Just so you know, because you're doing that as a reaction to how uncomfortable you still feel about the old story. You still feel like you're not really getting it. You're still really worried you're not going to get it. You're still really reactive to the idea that it's not working out for you. And so therefore your coping mechanism is just be like, well, then I'm just not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to surrender it or whatever. And magically things will change. And normally magically things don't really change that much. So you do need to think about your new story, because you need to claim it. You need to really, again, that's the practice, but it's not you thinking in an efforting way. It's you thinking it's a self-care thing. You're honestly taking care of yourself by thinking about your new story in a way that you really can relate to and take on. And the detachment piece comes in where you're reminding yourself, oh yeah, it's not out in the 3D, because what detachment really means when it comes to manifesting is that you're not looking for it to be proven to you. You're not feeling like this needy, like, where's my validation? When is the 3D going to prove it to me? When am I going to get it? Because all of those kinds of thoughts imply that it is outside of you, that there is not a oneness that you are inside of, that you are manifesting from. It implies that, yeah, like I don't really have it. I don't have it until I see the proof of it. And therefore what you feel as attachment is really just anxiety, like an anxious kind of attachment that's really about the 3D. And it's you, again, kind of not believing in yourself. It's you being more interested in 3D validation than you really trusting, like, I am the operant power. I am the source of everything. It is all within me. There is nothing outside of me that can prove anything to me. There's nothing outside of me that can even like give me my validation and confidence, because yeah, of course it's nice when your manifestations come through, but when they do come through, it just kind of feels normal. It just feels like, yeah, that's what I was already assuming. So of course Of course I would see that come through. That's what I already knew that was going to happen. So it's like obviously nice when it happens, but it's not like this, like, oh my God, I'm finally validated, I'm finally fulfilled. It's not like that, because if you were really reacting that way to getting your manifestation, I have a feeling you probably wouldn't hold it for very long. It would probably go away quickly, because you are not having the self-concept of like, of course it's normal that I would get what I want. I mean, it's nice, of course, but it's like also very normal that I get what I want, or what I'm assuming. So anyway, that is what really detachment is all about. Detachment really is about the 3D, and it's also about you though, in that, because this is the way that I've often described it, and I wish I had a better way of describing it, because it's not fully a good way, but I don't know how else to say it. In that sense of like, detachment is when you feel like even if it never got proven to you, in terms of like the 3D proving it to you, that's what I mean, you would still be okay with yourself. Like your self-esteem, your self-worth, your self-concept is not dependent upon the getting of that thing. So that's also huge for detachment, where you're not yet constantly needing to look for it or needing the confirmation and the validation, because you're so secure within yourself that technically, even if it never came through, you would kind of be unbothered. But the reason I don't like saying that totally is because part of me saying that kind of implies like that you might not get it. And I never want to technically imply that, because of course, if you're assuming that your reality is your reality, that will be confirmed to you, but you got to be actually assuming that. You got to be actually thinking thoughts that are aligned with your, again, new story, your new assumption. And if you are being honest with yourself and seeing, okay, I have a lot of opposing old stories that I still really believe in, yeah, the 3D obviously isn't going to validate you, because again, you aren't really there yet in your new state. So anyway, this I think covers everything in terms of like, I hope and I know that this really gave you some clarity on what persistence is, what detachment is, and how the two of them do not cancel each other out. In fact, the two really support each other. Like persisting in a very healthy, detached way is the way to do this, because it's not persisting, as I said before, to be efforting your way through, like pushing through, like every day I've got to affirm, and then you get burned out, and then you get resentful, and you think this doesn't work because you're like pushing and hammering away, like I'm gonna think this thought a million times until it shows itself to me. That is not really persisting. That is resistance. Remember, like resistance is pushing. It's like whenever you are pushing against something, it's gonna push back and give you back the force that you are giving. And so resistance only ever manifests more resistance. It doesn't manifest the thing you're assuming. Reality creation is very seamless. It very seamlessly matches what you are genuinely assuming, what you are genuinely being. It seamlessly reflects that. Just like if you walk in front of a mirror, it seamlessly reflects your image, your reflection in the mirror. It's not like this is a funny analogy, but imagine if you were standing in front of the mirror, like yelling at it to change, and it's just like still reflecting you, and you're like, I don't understand, I'm persisting, I'm like yelling at the mirror to change. I said this affirmation to the mirror a million times and it still didn't change. That would be crazy. Like obviously it wouldn't change, because you aren't really changing. You're still the same you, or some version of you, and the mirror is just reflecting like who you're really being in that moment. So persisting is simply, I'm genuinely changing the way I'm thinking about this. I'm genuinely changing the way I'm assuming about this. And the more you practice, and again, a healthy routine, this is just the way I think about this. This is just the way I know that things are for me. This is just it. And it's like obvious to me because I practice it. I know it. I trust myself. I know this works. This is just what it is. Then you will seamlessly see that reflected to you eventually. You don't know when, and that's also where the detachment piece comes in, is like there is some mystery in terms of like exactly the timing that things are gonna start coming through for you. But when you're detached, you're just like, doesn't even matter because I got me. So anyway, this I think covers it. Let me know if you have any other questions or thoughts in the description below. Persisting should not ever feel like effort. If you are feeling manifestation burnout, you are not persisting correctly. So keep that in mind and let me know other thoughts you have. Also, I always forget to say this, please like this video and of course subscribe if you enjoyed it and you got stuff out of it, because I always forget to say to like this, but it really helps the algorithm. If you enjoy me, other people can find me the more that you engage with the video by liking it and subscribing and commenting and all that fun stuff. So please do that if you feel like you got some good information out of this video, and I will see you guys in my next one. All right, bye.